Hi, welcome to GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. I'm just going to do a quick preview and give you my reasons why I've had a good look at the new Fuji XT2, but I've decided to stick with my Panasonic Lumix GX8, and I'm going to tell you the reasons why. Now, this is the first camera that's come out for a while, or due to come out, it's not actually available yet, that really piqued my interest and made me think more than twice, about changing systems. But it's one of those, initially, I'll get it, I'll definitely want to go for it, and then once you start sitting down and looking at the features, and then looking at what I've already got, where's the benefits, the cost, things like that, and realising that actually no, it isn't everything that I want in a camera. Now, firstly, I'll go over the physical sort of side of the camera. I haven't played with it, but I've played with the XT1 and I really like it. I like the form factor, I like the look of it, I like the physical dials, and from what I can see of the XT2, it's actually better in pretty much every aspect, so that's a good thing. Happy with all that. 24 megapixel, that X-Trans CMOS sensor, fantastic sensor, reasonably good low light performance. Obviously it's an APS-C, so it's a slightly bigger sensor than in the Micro Four Thirds that I'm using. So no issues with regards to image quality. You get all those film simulation modes as well. The Provia and Velvia and all that kind of stuff, which is all good if you're going to use your just straight JPEGs out of camera. Fuji's a very good camera to do that. The autofocus system on it has been massively upgraded, and it looks to me like it's on a par, if not better than, the Sony A6300, with lots of options for tracking, and it's the continuous autofocus that's the issue. I mean, point to point, you can't beat the Panasonics because they are as instantaneous as it gets, as far as I'm concerned. But it's the tracking where a lot of these cameras have struggled, and that's why I like these Panasonics, because the DFD system in it for continuous autofocus works as good as any mirrorless camera that I found, and certainly better than things like the Olympuses. And it is very good, and it's perfectly fine for what I need. Now, the other thing with the Fuji is the lenses. That's one of the reasons why I like the Micro Four Thirds. I get the lenses that I want, are in the range, they're cheap. Well, I say cheap, they're not so expensive that it's ridiculous, put it that way. They're much cheaper than like some of the Sony equivalents, and I pretty much stick to a 3 or 4 lens setup now that works really well. So yeah, it's got the lenses, it's got the speed now, it's got the image quality, it's got the physical dials. So I was like, at this point I'm thinking, yep, I'm going to go for it. Then I looked at the price. In the UK, it's going to be around, if you buy it with a lens of some description, it's going to be around £1,600, which is currently twice the price of the Panasonic GX8 that I've got here. So that's double the price. Now there's an issue. The second issue is that to unlock some of the new benefits and new features and extended 4K recording, you need to buy the battery grip, which then puts it up into sort of £1,850 territory. Now, there's a couple of things I don't like about that. I don't like having to buy extra things to unlock features in the camera. I like the size of it as it is. I wouldn't want to put a grip on it because it makes it, in my opinion, too big for a Micro Four Thirds. It's not what I'm after. It puts it squarely in the back into the digital SLR category. I might as well just get a Nikon D7100 or whatever. So I don't want that battery grip. I don't want the extra size, weight. It's all very well saying you can have three batteries, but I don't want all that weight. I go mirrorless because of the weight advantages. So that's the first thing I don't like about it. When I heard it had a new screen that flips out and does all wonderful things, I thought, oh great, that's, you know, a vari-angle screen. But it's not. All it does is it flips up and down, and then you push a lever and pull it out, and then you can pull it out to the side. And people say, oh, it's much quicker than you can do on a camera. Sorry, much quicker than that? Much quicker than that? Much quicker than that? You know, why don't these manufacturers realise that that is the best system? And anyone that says to me, people have said, oh yeah, but it's quicker. If you just want to flip the screen up to get to that angle, then it's much quicker just to flip from the bottom of the screen up. Well, how long does it take to do that? I mean, you know, we're not. It's ridiculous to say that's as long as it takes to get your lens cap off. So for me, you know, plus if I was using it, I would want to have it so I could, you know, turn the screen round on itself. That's why I have this type of camera. So to me, that is a massive, massive fail. But the biggest one of all, the biggest fail of all, and when I heard the excuse for this, I was mortified. The excuse was, photographers don't want it. A touchscreen. That's like saying the new iPhone 7 isn't going to be a touchscreen because people don't want it. Everybody wants a touchscreen. Even if they don't want it, they can turn it off, so it doesn't matter. But even people that think they don't want it, think actually, when you start using it, it is just, and it needs to be a well-implemented touchscreen. I mean, the Panasonic do it as good as anybody, in my opinion. It's a good touchscreen, so I noticed they've got the new jog dial for the autofocus point, so you can put you can autofocus on whatever spot you want on the screen. Well, oh, look at me. You know, how difficult is that? I want to centralise it, bosh, back. I want to make it bigger. There you go. I want to make it smaller. You know, I want to touch there. What is so difficult about that? You know, it's... How can anyone not want that? If you don't want it, just turn it off and use your job or whatever. But the fact that they don't give you that option, to me, is horrible. I mean, say I'm in my... reviewing my photos, I can just touch the screen, go in, I can zoom in, I can go back. So I wanted to delete one, I can just click delete. I can delete singles, multiples. Oh, and then say, I'm just going to go into the menu and have a quick look, and I want to go into digital zoom, and I want to make sure that's off. Yeah, that's okay. All right, now I need to go in and let's have a look. Go into silent mode or whatever. Look at it. Look how easy it is for me to get. I want to go onto a different page. Let's go on to page 1 and have a look at photo styles. Standard, vivid, natural, monochrome. Okay, let's have monochrome for a little while. There we go. We're in monochrome mode now. I mean, it's just... Once you've used the touchscreen, I mean, we all use touchscreens on our phones, so it's natural. If you haven't got a touchscreen, quite often when I use my little Sony RX100, the first thing I do is I go and start touching the screen. And it isn't a touchscreen. I'm like, oh, so frustrating. So for me, that is the biggest fail. And when I saw that it didn't have a touchscreen, that was the point where I started looking back at my GX8 and I'm thinking, what? It's got in-body image stabilisation. I've got my 4K recording. I can record up to half an hour. I don't have any overheating problems. I've got physical dials. You're not as nice as the Fuji, but I've got my most important one, which is my exposure compensation dial. I've got a dial for aperture, a dial for shutter speed. You know, the fact that I haven't got numbers on, there's still physical dials that you turn. And yes, I know that you can set that up just by looking at the top of it, and oh, God forbid I have to look at the screen or through the viewfinder. I get all my information I need through there. You know, I can live without those extra little bits because these knobs and dials are enough for me to sort of get my fix of knobs and dials, if you like. But it's all functional. I've got a pop-up viewfinder. Woo. I've never used that. You know, so... It's a shame because I really, really wanted to like the XT2, and it's got the lenses. yes, it would have been expensive because it would have been a £1,600 for the camera and a kit lens. Then the zoom lens would have been 500 quid, which would replace that. The kit lens wouldn't have been as good as this, but it would have been okay. And then I'd have had to replace this lens, which I would have gone probably for the 56 1.2. That's another £700. So we're talking 1,600, 2,200. You're talking nearly pushing, including a flash, £3,000. This is about 800, 500, 1,300, 1,500, 1,600. Yeah, you're talking half the price for the for the setup that I've got. So I would have been prepared under the right circumstances to spend the money if I really had to. But I want to make sure that I'm getting some benefit. And I know there's the old age argument of shallow depth of field is easier with a APS-C, and yes, it is a little bit easier, but if you get the right lenses and you know what you're doing, it's not difficult with micro four thirds. You can still get shallow depth of field. I've proved it time and time again. And if you want really shallow depth of field, then go full frame. I've done it. I've done all of that, and I've settled on micro four thirds because I get what I want for the size that I want and the quality that I want. Image quality wise, yes, I can't argue that the Fuji XT2, if you looked and pixel peeped, you could get a slightly better image quality than this, but what I get from this is perfectly acceptable. No issues with it at all. I'm always astonished at how good it actually is, especially in low light. I have no problems. And yes, I know you can get better, but it's if the better is only a minimal amount in certain conditions, is it worth it? If you're a pro, doing pro work all the time, then yeah, it may well be. But for what I use my camera gear for, this is absolutely fine. And again, I'll come back to that size issue. These are my normal walk around lens, the 12 to 35. That's the 24 to 70 equivalent. I've got me 45 to 150, which is a 90 to 300 equivalent. So that's a nice long telephoto. And then I've got my 45 1.8, which is a great portrait lens, a great indoor lens, just a great lens. I've got all this, and look, I'm not weighed down. I'm not carrying loads of equipment. The only other thing I've got is a flash, and a small one at that. So there you are. I know people will say the Fuji's better, the Fuji's got better image quality, da. And I'm not disagreeing in any way, shape or form with that. I think it looks like a fantastic camera, but they've missed a trick. If they'd put a vari-angle screen and a fully integrated touchscreen on it, I would have been 99% sure I probably would have switched. However, the only niggling thing I've got in my brain is the GH4 replacement. Now, if you think what the GH4 was doing a couple of years ago, and think people like Fuji and Olympus and Canon or Nikon, they were only just catching up with what that GH4 were doing a few years ago. What is the GH5 going to be doing? It's going to be doing things that these cameras are going to be doing in a few years' time. So I've always got that in the back of my mind that, even if it's a £2,000 camera, I've still got my lenses are going to be okay to fit it. So all I'm going to have to do is change the body, and that is just always in the back of my mind. Because I had the GH3, I've had the GH4, I love them both. And if that GH5 has got image stabilisation, better low light performance, an even faster processor, the possibility of maybe 8K video, slow-mo functions, oh god, I mean it's going to be fun, reviewing that camera. So anyway, that's my thoughts. I'm sticking with my Panasonic Lumix GX8 because it does everything I need, and I'm not going to pull the trigger on the Fuji XT2, and I've given you my reasons why. Like, subscribe, comment. I like to get heated debate on these kind of things. I do like to see the comments, especially from Fuji owners, perhaps XT1 owners. I think that's a great upgrade for all you XT1 owners out there, or probably X Pro 1 owners, things like that. So yeah, this is GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. I'll see you soon. Bye.